On April 8, 1911, an 8-year-old girl walked out of her Chicago home to buy a simple loaf of bread and then disappeared as if she stepped off the edge of the world. For the next 31 days, the entire city searched for her. Trains halted, rivers were dragged, crowds gathered on every corner. And when little Elsie was finally found, lifeless and floating in a river, the truth only grew darker. This is the haunting true story of Elsie Paroubek, the child whose killer was never caught and whose case still lingers like a ghost over Chicago more than a century later. Elsie Paroubek was born in 1903 to Bohemian immigrant parents who lived in Chicago's busy South Side. Friends described her as cheerful, polite, and always willing to help her mother. Their neighborhood was noisy, filled with factories, streetcars, and the early spark of 20th century city life. On the day she vanished, April 8, 1911, her mother gave her a few coins and asked her to walk to a bakery just a few minutes away. It was an errand Elsie had done many times before. Nothing about that afternoon seemed unusual. At around 1:15 p.m., Elsie entered the bakery, bought the bread, thanked the owner, and walked out. That was the last confirmed time anyone saw her alive. When Elsie didn't return within minutes, her mother started searching the street. Soon neighbors joined. By evening, the police were knocking on doors, and by the next morning, her disappearance was already in the newspapers. Chicago responded like no city ever had. Posters covered walls, search parties formed, detectives questioned strangers, neighbors, factory workers, anyone who might have glimpsed a small girl in a white dress carrying bread. Rumors spread fast. Some claimed she had been kidnapped. Others blamed a group of Roma travelers who had passed through days earlier. Police raided their camp but found nothing. Every new lead collapsed almost instantly. For days, officers searched alleys, old warehouses, abandoned buildings, and riverbanks. Volunteers dragged the Chicago and Des Plaines rivers. Theories multiplied, but evidence didn't. As the days turned into weeks, hope faded, but the search never stopped. Exactly 31 days after she vanished, on May 9, 1911, a worker near the Des Plaines River spotted something pale drifting against the riverbank. When he looked closer, he saw it was the body of a child. The authorities rushed to the scene and soon confirmed what everyone feared. It was Elsie. Her discovery brought even more questions. The condition of her body suggested something chilling. Elsie had not been in the water long. She had been missing for a month, yet her body was far too well preserved to have been in the river the entire time. That meant only one thing: she had been kept somewhere else before being dumped. Medical examiners agreed she had been murdered, but the exact cause of death could not be determined. The city mourned deeply. At her funeral, more than 5,000 people lined the streets. Her tiny white coffin was carried by 6 young girls dressed in white. The tragedy shook Chicago to its core. Police arrested several suspects over the months that followed, but every case fell apart. Witnesses contradicted each other. Clues never matched. Some people claimed to have seen Elsie with strangers. Others insisted she had been forced into a carriage. Others believed she wandered too far. No story ever fit the evidence, and by the end of the year, the investigation went cold. Decades later, her case continued to capture attention. Historians and detectives have proposed countless theories: kidnapping, ransom, someone she knew, or even a secret confinement lasting weeks before her body was dumped. But none of these theories have ever been proven. More than 110 years later, the murder of Elsie Paroubek remains one of the oldest unsolved child homicide cases in American history. A little girl who left home for bread and never came back. A mystery frozen in time with a killer who walked away silent, hidden, and free.